gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
That's it. Welcome to the Jericho Cruise, 6th on the beach. This is the Paranormal 60, your favorite paranormal podcast in this room tonight. So thank you very much for joining us and being a part of it. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, America's favorite little sister, Sweet Tea, is here.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? How's it going?
And ladies and gentlemen, our special guest for the evening, LUTHOR. Who did an excellent job last year. LUTHOR filled in for me. For those of you that don't know and you were here, I made it to Miami.
What happened?
I was at the hotel. I was on my way here. I decided I'm going to stop at Walgreens because I'm not going to buy expensive cough drops on a cruise ship.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So I picked up some cough drops and got my pocket picked.
Oh,
and
but
then,
that's fine. You got on the boat still,
No,
right?
I didn't get on the boat. I got all the way here and I couldn't get on because they had taken my passport.
But you got your cough drops.
I did get my cough drops.
Hey!
Yeah, but here's the cool part, right? I get back home a week later. I ended up going and visiting my dad, which is cool, and had a good time with him. Went home, and I get a message on Instagram from a follower who says, hey, you were just in Miami recently. And I said, yeah, how'd you know? She goes, well, you got your pocket picked. Somebody stole your passport, and I work for the DMV. And they brought the passport in to try to get a driver's license using your fake ID. And luckily, she was a fan of mine, so she took it away from him. And so I
used it for her own.
Yes, she started a big
credit
loan
cards,
under my name.
yes.
Yeah, lots of credit card issues. But it was really cool. So that was nice that a connection was made, and I got my passport back. So yeah, that just shows you how great the Darklings are. They listen, they love, they care, they share. And speaking of sharing, tonight, as we're live on the cruise, we are going to want you to come up and share your stories with us. So if you've had a paranormal experience, or maybe you just have a question about the paranormal, or you've seen me on shows like The Holzer Files or Ghosts of Devil's Perch, or maybe one of the 10 episodes of Ghost Adventures I've been a part of, and you'd like to know more about it, and you have a question, just make your way up right over to these pillars where there's a microphone, and we will call on you, and you can be a part of the program. And you can do that at any point during the show. Just wait for us to call for you. But let's start up now. Obviously,
Dave, I'm completely unfamiliar with their show.
Well, I do two shows. One is me, and the other show I do called News, which is...
that's super fun. That's a great show.
Yeah, it's got three of my closest friends and you as a part of that one.
Yes.
So
I was wondering if you were going to ask me what I'm drinking.
Oh, well, I could. What are you drinking tonight, sweetie?
Well, I'm going to pretend like I'm drinking the Painkiller, which is one of those totally ironic names. It's very painful, but I'm actually drinking Sauvignon Blanc. Thank you for asking.
Oh, very fancy. Yeah, on Wednesday nights when we do the news, to make it a little easier for my buddies, I got these three friends of mine from Texas who joined, and they wanted to be part of the podcast with me, but they're very shy. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, bring a drink. We'll all drink as we're doing the show. And if you guys were here a couple of years ago, we did one of the live news sessions with Anthony Bowens and LUTHOR and the three of us, and a lot of alcohol was spilled that night, and we had a great time. So on Wednesday nights, we do the show, and everybody brings a different drink and shares what they're going to be drinking for the program. Sweet Tea always has some crazy concoction. I've got a little mixed drink myself, some H and some O. Yeah, I like to call it water. Very cool, huh?
That's weird and new and different.
It is.
I like that.
LUTHOR is with us. Let's hear it for LUTHOR again. And this was great because I didn't know that there was so much love. I knew Jericho loved the paranormal because that's what brought me into his world. He liked our radio show, Darkness Radio, back in the day, and had us join him on the Jericho Network. And as soon as I started doing the Jericho Cruises, it was great to hear how many of the wrestlers came up to share their stories. So let's start off with one of your favorite stories tonight, LUTHOR. What's one of the most unusual paranormal experiences that shaped your life?
The shape mine was, well, obviously, I told this last year, real quick. I was probably about 6, 7 years old, sleeping over at my friend's house. And we were downstairs, and he was on his bed. I was on his brother's who wasn't there. And you know when you sleep over at your friends, if you wake up first, you never wake them up. You kind of just sort of hang out a little bit. So I remember I was reading a Incredible Hulk comic book. I was reading. And I remember looking up, and I see through the doorway. For some reason, he had no door, just, the frame. I don't know, maybe they think he was going to, I don't know what was going on there, but I see this girl with like long blonde hair just staring in, and she's staring at him, and she stares at me, and I smile, and she smiles at me, and then she stares at him, and I look back at him, and I look back, she's gone, so I was like, that's his sister checking on him or something. So I get back to reading comics, and then he wakes up, and then, we just, do what little kids do, play cars or whatever, and then we go upstairs, and, his parents are making breakfast for us. So they're in the kitchen, and we're at the table, and everybody's talking, and the mom's asking me stuff like, what does your parents do for all, the normal stuff you get as a little kid. And then for some reason I said, oh, I saw your sister downstairs, and the parents stopped what they were doing, and it was really weird. And I was too young to really know what was going on, but old enough to know something's going on, And so they start whispering and all this, and as they're doing that, the little kid leans into me and goes, I don't have a sister anymore.
Oh, anymore.
Oh. And so I didn't really know what that meant, right? But then the mom got mad at me and told me I had to go home. And so I was like, I don't know what I did, but I went home. But it wasn't until a little later, I'm like, oh, his sister's dead. Unless they have someone chained up downstairs. I'm not sure.
That's very plausible.
But so that was the first thing that happened to me with the paranormal. So I think I saw his sister.
Is this the 80s or the 90s?
This would have been 70s.
Okay. No, I get it.
So the early 1900s. Yeah.
So I got in my horse-drawn carriage and I moseyed back home.
That is a very 1970s mom's reaction. I get it. It's fair.
Well,
it's
they
fair.
kicked out a little kid like, you gotta go.
That's
Nope.
Bill Chappell, who is one of the purveyors of like the paranormal technology in the field. If you watch any of the paranormal TV
Super
programs,
nice man, by the way.
Yeah, he has a great story. When he was little, very little, he was going to preschool. And you guys remember doing preschool, right? You play for a couple hours, and they give you graham crackers, juice, and then let you take a nap.
My favorite.
On the floor.
Yes, on a little blue mat, right? Well, the teacher came over, and she would kiss every one of the little kids on the forehead and tell them good night, because that was sweet back then. Now it's creepy and weird,
Yes,
I guess,
agreed.
right? But she leaned down, and she kissed Bill on the forehead, and he reaches his little chubby fingers up, and he puts them on the side of her face, and he goes, you look just like my wife before she died.
Ooh.
Yeah, and she was like, huh? Well, little Bill went home with a note stapled to his chest, I think
Your
it was.
son is creepy. Please don't bring him back.
That's what they said. They brought it back, and then the mom and dad took him aside. They're like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, in my last life, she looks just like my wife did. And they're like, let's not tell anybody that story ever again. But it's great, right? When kids have these weird experiences, and that was mine. My grandmother would come visit me when I spent the night over at my grandparents' house after she had passed away. And my mom just put it off as I was having dreams about my grandmother until she told my aunt, Dave keeps talking about mom visiting, and he gets weirdly specific. And I was only like 2.5, 3 years old at that time, so I shouldn't have known as much as I did. And then my mom had the bomb drop on her. Not only did I exactly detail what my grandmother had been buried in, and she was in a closed casket. There were 3 people that knew what she was buried in. My aunt who got the outfit, my grandfather who brought it to the mortician, and the mortician. And I described to a T everything, including the fact she was missing her teeth. And they had removed her false teeth for burial, and she had a polka dot dress on and a necklace, and I nailed it. And then my aunt tells my mom, I got a phone call from mom after she died. Yeah, talk about long distance bills. Man, that was before family and friends plans too. So,
Did you also tell your aunt that you were her husband in a previous life?
no, we're married in this life.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
weird. That's
It
weird.
is and it isn't. It just makes
weird.
things a lot easier
I
to
don't like
understand.
it. It's
no?
weird.
All right, well,
All right.
fine.
Way easier.
Be judgy, whatever.
Family reunions are easier.
Did you ever have any weird childhood paranormal experiences? Notice I put in paranormal experiences.
Oh, yeah, because I've got so many weird ones
So
right
many
now.
child.
Listen, we're not going to talk about that right now because it's too weird, maybe. I don't...
After what you just heard? Lenny saw a dead sister in a closet lean out and stare.
Yeah, that's great. Mine
And I
are
love the
boring.
fact that his thought was, oh, it's probably just the sister checking in on us from the closet.
Where else is she going to check in
Obviously,
on?
I don't know. I never had a sister, so.
Oh, yeah, that's what they do.
Oh, they
hide
sleep in your closet?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
interesting.
yes.
See, you learn new things on these ships. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So come on, what's the weirdest thing that happened when you were young, paranormal-wise?
Okay. What?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so everybody else here can share a story, but not you?
Yeah, because listen, I'm.
One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. Come on. Look, I really.
I'll tell you my friend Josh's story.
Perfect.
He is a skeptic and does not believe in anything paranormal whatsoever. He's from Boston, and he grew up in a very old house in Boston. And he was having a sleepover as an 8-year-old in his house. And he tells this story about feeling, seeing, and watching spirits, people, who knows, running through his living room as he's having a sleepover. And not only like running through his living room, and mind you, he's been a skeptic for life. So he's looking at his friend. He's like, is this what's happening? What, do you see this? And his friend's like, I don't know. And so he's seeing this, they're seeing this together. They actually feel these spirits move through them because they're running through this location. They don't know what it is. They don't know what they're seeing, but there is obviously spirits of something going through everything. And he's like, ghosts are BS. I don't believe in that.
So even though he's watching these move about.
Yes.
How many of you are that kind of skeptic that you've seen something weird, had a very strange experience, but still don't believe in the paranormal? Good. So you're a bunch of kooks. I like that. That's
Love it.
perfect.
Thank
no,
you.
Yeah, it's weird how, but there are times, right, Luther? I mean, we've been at places where you have an experience, and even though you just witnessed it, you're kind of like, nah, that couldn't have possibly just happened.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What was one of the weird ones that you just are still kind of, even as an adult and understanding the paranormal and enjoying it, is there still an experience that just makes you question the experience overall?
One when I was with you a year or two ago, I guess, at the Palmer House, when we were downstairs in this basement, we were doing some things with those lights. They were the glowing lights.
Oh, the little cat balls?
The little cat balls.
Yeah.
And it was pitch black in there. I can't remember which part of that. It was down in the very, very bottom basement.
Yeah, the basement.
Pitch black. I thought I got bit by a bug. And but then so as I went outside, I had a scratch, but still, I didn't do it. It was scratched, and I showed you. We took pictures, but that still, I'm like, I can't explain it, so I'm
you're
not
so
sure.
second guessing yourself. I get it. Yeah.
So that was weird though. So.
Well, when I was filming for a project, probably about 10, 12 years ago, we were at this very famous haunted, closed down hospital in California, and we weren't supposed to be there. But we were filming in there and doing some work. And at one point, one of the camera guys goes, dude, you're bleeding. I'm like, what? And I had another scratch across my cheek and a lot of blood coming down. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't remember it. He goes, let me film it. And I'm like, no, I don't know that I didn't scratch myself. Or so you don't realize how often you touch yourself.
Hello.
I realize how that sounded a minute.
I mean, sometimes.
I always know.
You do?
Yeah,
You keep track?
I feel like I keep
Why,
track.
are you like the blind counter? If I hit over 100, I'm going to go blind. So you don't always pay attention. So I'm like, no, I don't want that to be perceived as paranormal. And so I went into the bathroom to wipe it off because I didn't want to, just walk around with blood on my face. So I go in, and the blood is still streaking out of this cut, and I get some hot water on a towel, and I wipe it. And there's nothing there. There's no scratch. Ooh. There's nothing. It totally vanished. That was
phantom scratch.
Yeah, so that was really bizarre. So I wish they would have filmed it, because they filmed me walk into the building. Then when they turned around, they filmed me with blood coming down my cheek and no explanation.
And you were like, no, thank you. I don't want this paranormal thing on camera.
No, I didn't. You don't put it together. It doesn't. No matter how.
Put
amazing
everything on
things
camera,
are
Dave.
sometimes.
What are you doing?
Again,
Everything.
Everything is paranormal on TV. No.
Listen, no. Then you discount it. You log everything, and then you
This was before I was on TV, so I didn't know the rules of
Wow.
engagement. I watched other people do it on TV and react and see the way that they did that, but I just, again, I don't like to jump to conclusions that everything is evil or
Sure.
that something is trying to kill me
You
in these
shouldn't.
places. And for many of you, if you have a story from when you were a kid or younger, a paranormal story, make your ways over to the microphone. I'd love to hear from you. The other one, and I know we've got a gentleman in the audience to talk about this because, you know, let's face it, in order, the creepiest stories are creepy clowns, creepy kids,
Yeah,
creepy dolls.
sure.
Right?
Yes.
And we've got a guy not with one, not with two, but many creepy dolls.
Oh.
And he's got many creepy doll stories too. If he's still out in the audience somewhere, okay, well then that means get up and go to the microphone, not wave
But
to me
he-
from the couch. And then I'll have you go
I don't
next,
know
ma'am.
how
Is
many
that okay?
times we talked about
All
the
right.
mics. Come on, what are you doing?
What's your name and where are you from?
Luke from southeastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, Luke from southeastern Pennsylvania. Let's hear your creepiest, weirdest haunted doll story.
I lost my voice yesterday, so it's
The
gonna be
doll
bad.
did that to you? That is
Yes,
terrifying.
yes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's what they do, you know.
Okay.
All right, so I currently have 3, and to keep the time constraint, I'm going to tell the story about the second one that
Okay.
I acquired.
And stay right up in front of the microphone so we can hear you, Peter
Oh,
Brady.
I was afraid of feedback.
Okay.
So I went on Etsy because I always want, I figure you always
That's the
have.
best place for haunted dolls.
That's where you
Well,
find them.
I figured there's got to be something creepy on Etsy.
Sure.
So I looked for, Raggedy Ann dolls
Okay.
to match Annabelle. So a woman.
Gross.
No. So I found a lady selling 6 Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls, 3 of each. And I reached out to her without asking about anything haunting because she's just going to feed on that and say, oh, yeah, he wants a haunted doll, so I'm going to make a bullshit for him. So I just asked general questions, and she's like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I acquired these dolls during an estate sale. The house was literally almost like a haunted house. An older gentleman lived there. He was 90-some years old when he passed away. She got the dolls. So I was like, there's 6 dolls. So one of them's got to be haunted, coming from an old haunted house type of place. So when I got, gesundheit.
No, listen, that's just how percentages works. It's fine. Go ahead, keep going.
But it was right though. So I got them, put them on display on an old cabinet that I have. And about 3 weeks later, because that's usually how long it takes for an entity to feel safe in a new place. 3 weeks later, as I'm walking here and there in my home, I'm like, wait, that one moved, I think. It's in a different position. So I don't pay attention. I'm like, I probably just don't remember it. But after a couple weeks, I started paying attention to how she's moving. And I narrowed it down to 2 of them that were active, possibly active. I figured maybe this one's making the other one move, or this one's the one moving. So I took both of them to an event I go to every year. And
What's that?
It's the Warren Paranormal Conference out on the East Coast, right?
No, I did go to that though, yes.
Oh, okay.
But no, this is a different event in an old campground, actually, where there's a lot of hauntings. Paranormal investigators go there many times a year. Underground Railroad ran through there too, so there's many, many hauntings there.
Okay.
So I go to an event there every year with people. We always stay in one cabin, and it was only me and one other person there at the time. They were in a different quad of the cabin, so I put both dolls on my bed, and being a guy, I put the boy doll's hand over her crotch. I'm a guy. I was feeling
Hold
funny.
up, does everyone else in this cabin understand and realize you have haunted dolls with you and you're putting crotch hands at places? Like, what's happening?
I was the only one there at the time. So I went out to do some duties because I was working at the campground for this event. I come back like an hour later. The boy's hand is off the doll's crotch.
Because he's a gentleman.
Possibly. So I went to the only other person in the cabin at the time. I was like, did you move the doll? She's like, no, I didn't even go in your quad yet. I'm like, okay, cool. So about another week or 2 later, I went out to do some errands, came home, the female doll was on the ground of the cabinet I kept them on.
She's sick of your crap.
Or she's just trying to show she's active because she
Sure.
wants to be separated from the other 5. So I went to the paranormal convention 2 years ago where the Warren, a lot of their artifacts were on display. I had 2 separate psychics from 2 areas of the convention center read both the dolls, and I figured to figure out which one was the one, and he pinned it down to the female Raggedy
Raggedy Ann.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ann. Thank you, Raggedy Ann doll. And yeah, so that's it. And she's actually been pretty active since then.
Oh,
So,
that's
but when
very
you say
cool.
active, just moving,
Moving around, just
bitch
like
slapping
Making
Andy for trying to
breakfast.
put his hand on her growler.
some lights.
Growler, nice.
Nice callback, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lights flickering, things like that.
Okay.
And the funniest story is, well, I guess not funny, I guess creepy, I guess. So I carry lockets around with, I have 2 of my dogs passed away, so I put pieces of their ashes into lockets
Sure.
to keep them with me.
All right.
So I'm a guy, I'm comfortable in masculinity, but I'm not going to carry dolls around. So I told the Raggedy Ann doll, I said, hey, if you drop a piece of your hair overnight, I will get it and put it in a locket so you can go with me. I am not making this shit up. The next morning I woke up, a strand of her hair was lying next to her. Yeah.
Can I ask you a boring question?
Sure.
Did you say this out loud, or were you just like thinking it like I'm putting intention into the universe?
Out loud.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's how they hear, dummy. Jeez.
I don't know how haunted dolls hear.
Haunted dolls aren't telekinetic. You
don't
gotta
know.
talk to them. Yeah, thank you very much. Very cool.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Haunted dolls. Anybody else ever had a haunted doll? Just one of you? Oh, yeah. I don't know. We'll cover some more of those stories. Young lady, please step up to the microphone. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Christina, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Welcome, Christina.
Oh, so
What's your
close
story?
to me. Hello.
So
Midwest.
this story is actually my mom's story. She liked to tell me a lot. I've never had a paranormal experience, unfortunately.
Okay.
But my mom, when she was younger, she worked at an old family restaurant in northern Indiana called Phil Schmidt. And when the owners were alive, when she worked there, the owners had already passed away. When the owners were alive, they were really involved in the restaurant. And every new employee would get a picture in front of the cash register with, with the wife of the owner putting her hands on your shoulder, like a nice little family photo type
Sure.
thing. So the owners had already passed away by the time she started working there. She got the same photo. They kept the tradition. And she said she felt hands. And she didn't know that the wife had done that in the past. So she felt hands on her shoulder when she got this picture in front of the cash register. So she, and I think I remember her telling me that the photo had a silhouette of a person behind her. And so she had several stories. There was another one that stood out to her too. The restaurant had been modified to have air vents in the floor. Mm-hmm. But before that, the wife of the owner would fluff up the curtains at the windows, and that's where the registers were, the air conditioner registers. So she saw the curtains fluffing, and she told one of her coworkers this. She said, because they were closing up for the night, she said, hey, you didn't go turn the air off. Can you go turn it off? He's like, no, I did. So they both went to the thermostat. It was off. They went behind the curtain, felt it was still fluffing. No air was coming out.
Love it.
Yeah.
See, I don't know what's worse about that story. The fact that you use the word fluffer a lot.
A lot.
Or
Like so many times.
so many times. Or the fact that even in death, you're still stuck working there fluffing the goddamn curtains. That's gotta
Of
suck.
all jobs.
What's your job? Oh my God, what do you do? Okay, LUTHOR, welcome to the afterlife. You will be the curtain
Fluffing.
fluffer at the Palmer House Hotel.
How is your fluffy
Someone's
work?
got to do it.
I guess. Good, great. Thank you very much for the story. We have to take a very quick break. We'll come right back. We've got more to discuss right here on the Jericho Cruise. Welcome back to the program. This is the Paranormal 60 live aboard the 6th on the beach. I have to say that very slowly and carefully. The 6th on the beach Jericho Cruise, which is amazing. By the way, I do want to let all of my listeners around the world know that there will be a 7th Jericho Cruise, and it is next year, October, I believe, is what they're shooting for. So if you are interested in joining us for Rock and Wrestling Rager with some of the best musicians, bands, wrestlers, and paranormal people on the planet, then you definitely want to check it out.
But if you hate fun, do not.
Yeah, don't come
Do
here
not.
if you hate fun. We're doing live stories, and we've got different members of the audience. And again, we'll invite you up. We've got 2 different microphones going. Your name and where are you from?
I'm Hunter Amy from Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay, Hunter, welcome to the show. What did you want to share with us?
Between the ages of 0 and 10, 2004 to 2014, I used to have 2 6-foot-tall teddy bears.
Okay.
Somewhere around those ages, I started to have nightmares that these bears would off me in various ways.
All right. That's
And you are the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. Welcome
Thank
to the show.
you. Oh my God, what a pleasure.
Yeah, but I'm sure that had something to do with it with the nightmares.
Sure.
But the story comes to an end where I told my parents, and we kept on talking over throwing away these things. These things were $50, $80 nowadays.
Right.
So eventually they're thrown away, and they kind of stopped.
So once the weirdness, once the bears were gone, the nightmares and the weirdness stopped for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, you're a little kid. You're growing up with these big things. And I've seen some stuffed animals and dolls and things that people buy. When we're talking about haunted dolls, have you seen some of the dolls that they at once thought was like a really cute doll? And you look at them and you think,
Blech.
whoever thought this?
Why
There's
would
one,
you think that?
Oh
That's
my God.
disgusting.
There is like the Secret Sally doll. Have you guys seen that? I can't remember its real name, but it's like Secret Sally, and she whispers to you. Yeah. And she's like, will you be my friend?
No, I won't. Get out of my face.
Right? And then she's like, I know a secret.
I don't want to know that secret. Get out of here.
And
On
it is-
some Saturday nights, I don't mind hearing that.
Yeah, really? Well,
I get it.
I don't. And you think I'm kidding? Look up on YouTube, whispering doll, and they have the old 1960s commercials for it. And she's got like this crazy Cabbage Patch Kid smile. And she just, I want to eat your soul. It is absolutely
Hey,
terrifying.
Dave, you know what? I actually bought that doll at a thrift store, and the battery was going low, so it was all like slow. It was the worst, and I love it very much.
Oh, see, so for the person making the most sounds, you were the first to go out and buy one.
Well, yeah, it's creepy.
Sweetie, let me into your soul.
Okay, here it is.
Very creepy. All right, we've got somebody else over at this mic. We'll jump over here and then we'll come back over. And what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Basil. I'm from Oceanside, California.
Hi, Basil. Welcome.
Hi, so this is more of a recent story. One of my really close friends recently moved apartments, and they moved because of construction issues.
Okay.
And his family has a really long history with alcohol, and he didn't think this was ever going to be a problem because he's never had a paranormal experience in his whole life.
Sure.
And so I went over to his house about a week after he moved in, and we were sitting in the living room, and it was about 12 to 1 a.m., and his mom had just come back from the bar, and she was completely drunk. And she had fallen asleep in there after she had done like all of this weird mumbling and talking.
Right.
And we were like, okay, that's kind of weird. So we continued to talk and hang out in his living room. Eventually, we start hearing this wailing. Like it wasn't like wailing, but it was like closer to sobbing. But it was from a dude. And it's just him and his single mom in that house. And so we were hearing it and we were like, what's going on? And he was like, yeah, ever since we've moved in here, every time my mom has come home drunk, we've heard this wailing start happening once she like goes into her bedroom and she falls asleep. And so we said, do you want to check on your mom? Is this like your mom somehow sounding like a dude or something? And so I've had paranormal
Not that that's not okay.
I know.
Right.
Exactly.
But I've had paranormal experiences before. So we walk in there and his mom, dead asleep, mouth shut, nothing, right? And we walk back out and we hear the wailing again. And so we start going around the apartment trying to see where it's louder and where it's quieter. And we go up to this one vent. And this vent is really, really loud and it's really like rusted.
This is weird because as soon as you started telling this story, it sounds like a vent is blowing right on the microphone. Has anybody else heard this?
Yes, very much.
All right. Go ahead.
So we kind of like crouched down and we sat there for a second and his cats start coming over and then his cat hears like the wailing and then the cat starts backing up. And so then we're like, I don't want to be here anymore. So we start backing away from the vent and the wailing gets louder.
relevant. I mean, I don't want to be here anymore either.
So eventually, we're like, maybe this is the point we should go to sleep.
Let's let everything
Because
just
obviously you're from
wash
California
over
and
us.
haven't watched a horror movie ever, right?
Yeah.
There's something
so
creepy from the vents. We should
Time
probably go
for
to
a
bed.
nap.
Let's
Yep.
sleep it off.
Okay.
he said, he was like, I'm done for the night. I think we're tired. And I was
Sure.
like, I don't think so. So I said, we should check this out a little more. But
like,
he was
"Nah,
he
nap
was
time."
really sketched at this point. So he's like, we should get away from the vent.
Yeah.
And so he starts backing up, and the vent starts shaking. Like, it starts rattling. And the cat starts freaking out. He starts freaking out. And this is eventually at the point where I'm the only one close to the vent, and everyone else is kind of, like, backing off. And...
You're close to the vent. You're like,
yeah.
come on, what's going on?
Yeah, and
What's
so
up?
I turn around and I ask him, I say, hey, do you know anything about the previous person who lived in this house? And he went, yeah, when we moved in here, we found like a whole stash of empty alcohol bottles. And next to it, we found multiple medications to help like pain medications, nausea medication, and stuff like that. And the person who sold them the house would not tell them anything about this previous tenant. And said that the tenant had moved to unforeseen circumstances, and that was the only thing they were ever told.
And what they didn't tell them was that he moved into the vents.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Holy Christmas. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. When I was a little kid, right? I grew up Lutheran in Roselle, Illinois. I went to Trinity Lutheran grade school, and for, one of the classes, we each got a little glow-in-the-dark purple cross. Because what doesn't say America like a glowing-in-the-dark purple cross, right? So I had this glowing-in-the-dark purple cross, and my buddy Rick is spending the night, and we're playing Dracula in my room, right?
As you
And
do.
I turn off the light, and I'm like, to hell with you, Dracula! And I've got the cross up, and all of a sudden, from the floor vent, I hear, I'm going to kill you. And I stop, and I go, was that you, Dracula? And he goes, don't joke around, that was you. And I'm like, no, that wasn't me. It was me. You've never heard two children sound more like air being let out of a balloon. We circled around the room screaming, bumping into every possible thing there could be. And then from the other side of the vent, I heard my mom begin guffawing.
Dracula
Yeah,
would never.
Dracula.
Your
Oh,
mom would, but
fuck,
Dracula
no,
would never.
That was one of the hands down most terrifying moments of my life, and it turns out it was just my mom.
I love your mom so much.
Yeah. So then when my mom died, she's like, I promised to show you a sign, and I'm like, fuck you, no. Because I know what your signs are like. They're like, I'm going to kill you. But she's made herself known in very nice ways, so that's good. All right. Yes, ma'am, over here. What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Izzy from Canada, Vancouver.
Hi, Izzy from Vancouver, Canada. What's your story for us?
It's actually more of like a statement or like a quandary for you to ponder.
Ooh, I love it.
Oh, quandary
Do
to
it.
ponder, Luther.
I love a quandary.
You need to go get your tux on for this one.
So, we all remember, maybe if you have kids, I definitely do not, but maybe if you have kids, they all have their imaginary friends or their little doodads that they see, but
Right.
they don't. Imaginary friends, right?
Right.
Going back to your story from earlier, where it was like a direct image of your grandmother or a direct image of someone that you didn't know, but your family did know. Am I making sense? Probably not.
I'm with you. I follow you.
Okay. But I find that in kids, they have, of course, an imagination.
Sure.
But we always notice that kids are more the ones to be able to actually connect things that they didn't actually know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when we get older, those memories of us having imaginary friends go away and they're only remembered by our relatives, say, like my parents.
Sure.
I have no memory of having an imaginary friend, but my parents know everything about it. And
That's because for your youth, having the imaginary friend, your parents kept telling you it's just an imaginary friend probably, right?
Most likely, yeah.
And so they remember it because you scared the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you don't because they tamped it down for you. And that's the problem with a lot of people. You know, children do have that kind of innate psychic ability
Exactly.
to see
Yeah.
and experience things. But we're often told that that's not real. So
Yeah.
it does stop in
Right.
a lot of people, but the adults remember very well because you probably freaked them out.
Right.
by
And
sharing
what
that.
age? What age do you forget, like your childhood? Like you don't remember anything before 4 years old. Like there's so much going on.
And I'm 57, and I can barely remember I have children.
I
So-
don't remember that you have children either.
So continue. I mean, what?
But yeah, I was just. Do you seem to notice that kids seem to, of course, the imagination, but they seem
Right.
to be able to connect more things together without actually knowing the connections.
Absolutely.
Like they see things and that you don't see, and you're like, wait, why does your description exactly match my dead great grandmother from Scotland? Like, why?
Listen.
That was a great accent.
Yeah, it's really good.
Canadian Scottish. Did you hear it?
It's very good.
Very cute.
I just want to bathe in it.
Well, I think there's a lot of different elements to that, and first off, I think we all have guardians, we have angels and family members that are with us a lot through those moments. But I often wonder how many times an angel might take on the guise of somebody we know and love to make it easier for us. I know I was very close with my grandmother, so it could have been my grandmother's ghost, or it could have been my own guardian, just kind of easing me through the transition of losing my grandmother, and would come and give me these reassuring moments of love and let me know things and tell me. So it could be that. I know.
I also think that your kids are more innocent, and they don't have like their veil to other places that aren't blocked at that point, so they are more accessible to.
So what do you think, Fae? Do you think the Fae could be a part of this, Luther?
Maybe.
Tell us about the Fae.
When we're at a bar drinking, he's like, dude, the Fae are everywhere. You ask him in front of people, he's like, I don't know, Fae, maybe.
I'm more intrigued about your Dracula story still. I can't get that out of my head.
I want your theories. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah. The other thought is that there, could it be the Fae realm, which is what a lot of us are starting to look at more in the paranormal realm, that the Fae have been around for a long time. For those of you that don't know, you put in the word fairy realm and people begin to roll their eyes and think of Tinkerbell and think, oh, these are cute little pixies, when they're not, right? They're kind of earthen spirits. They're not good, they're not bad, they just are. And some of them are chaotic neutral. There's my Dungeons and Dragons
Very
reference
nice,
for the night.
very nice.
And more accessible to innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the kids may see these things that way, but I do think that imagination, which is going to shut a lot of people down, imagination in the paranormal world for investigators, I think part of the reason that I get to still have such wonderful experiences, I've never tamped my imagination down. I've always run with it. I want to have fun with it. It's not that I'm hallucinating, because I'll be in a room with Luther and Sweet Tea and we all see the same thing or have the same experience. So I know it's not just my imagination. So I think that, a lot of it has to do with, if you can keep that element of who you are, you get to see a lot of the cool magic that still exists in the world. And there are things trying to get our attention quite often. So I think you're right. A lot of it has to do with kids just being told to shut it off, or being, the parents are frightened and don't know how to deal with it, so they shut it down. That's probably more along the lines. Did you have an imaginary friend?
I did.
Yeah. Do you still remember it, or just what your parents tell you?
I do. It was an owl. His name was Owlie. And
I love it.
I actually, this is a story that my mother tells me constantly.
Okay.
We were getting ready to get in the cars, gonna go on a drive. I don't know where we were going. I was 5.
Okay.
I get strapped into the car seat, and then I start bawling and kicking and screaming. And Mom's like, "What? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I dropped Owlie on the driveway." And so I made her look for this invisible owl for a solid 10 minutes.
She
And
needed that job.
She found it.
Of course she did. She's a mom.
She found
What?
it, and she gave me Owlie, and I'm like, "Thanks, Mom." And then I went to bed in my car seat, and then she drove away, and I'm like, "Cool." So yeah, I found my owl. All's good now.
You know what? That's a good mom right there.
Oh, I love my mom. Mom, I love you so much. I literally love you so much, Mom.
Why? What would your have answer been?
Shut up and get in the car.
Yeah.
You'll get another owl later.
That would have been my dad. My mom might have looked for him.
Would you have also done the old, and this is why we don't have a puppy. You can't keep control of your damn owl. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah.
Hello, is this thing on? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, you're on. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Brittany, and I'm from Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Wow.
All the Canadians in the house.
Can I ask a question real quick before you continue? I want you to, but Is there anyone here out of town right now?
We're all from out of town. None of us were from the ocean.
Anybody who live on the boat.
This is why drinking isn't good, kids.
Oh.
Drinking's not good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not
Go
good.
ahead.
All right, Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah, so this isn't my story. I don't have a paranormal experience. I feel like in order to have them, you must be sensitive, and that's my belief, and I'm not sensitive to the experiences. But anyway.
Not at all. I have a lot of experiences, and my wife will tell you I'm very insensitive.
So this
I'm
is
not his
actually
wife, but
about
it's
the
true.
Fae. So this is the story that like really got me into listening to more podcasts about paranormal and whatnot. But anyway, it was Canadian too. So this girl was outside of Winnipeg. Don't ask me the town, but
What town?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't
like being told what to do.
I'm
Sorry. Go on.
So it was in the 80s. She was walking home from school in this little town in Manitoba. And I think she said she was around 12 years old. And this little boy was on the edge of like the bush line and was telling her to follow him into the woods. So she did.
Absolutely. Do not ever do that.
Why not?
Yeah, right.
So followed this little boy into the bush, and there was a fountain of blood and dead rats.
A fountain of what?
And notice how calm she is about it, too.
Yeah,
She's like,
I mean,
and then there was just the fountain
just
of blood.
fountain.
Canadians are different people.
That's just a Tuesday in Saskatchewan.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, come on down. So, fountain of blood with dead rats, like meticulously
That's
lined
fine.
around
Where else
each
are you going to
level.
get the blood but dead rats?
Yeah.
And so this little boy was just like, no words at all, just look at this fountain. And she's like, okay, that's weird, I'm leaving. So she comes out of the bush, she exits the bush.
We all do.
And her mom is driving around and slams on the brakes and says, where have you been? I have been looking for you for 3.5 hours.
Oh, now you did it. You pissed off the bush ghost.
Don't piss off the
Is it on?
bush.
Oh, we're back.
There. So yeah, she was looking for her for 3.5 hours because she didn't come home after school. And she's like, I was just in there for like 2 minutes.
Yeesh. Yeah,
And so that's when she was told, when she was an adult, and she told the story that was the Fae.
Yeah, no, that is Fae-ish.
Anyway,
is
that's my
absolute
story,
Fae.
so-
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Well, for those of you on the ship with us tonight, tomorrow night I'll be doing the campfire tales on the Great Outdoors. And I've got some great stories, including one about the changeling. So that is part of the Fae realm, and it is a real changeling encounter. Creepy as hell. So we will be sharing that one. What do you make of the concept of the Fae, Luther? I mean, do you think that there's something to be said for these ancient earthen spirits and sprites that really do exist?
There has to be some. It's been around forever. They've been around forever. The legends go back from the dawn of time for as much as I could read and stuff. So, I mean, there has to be something to them. They're overseas. They're here. They're pretty much all around the world.
Honestly.
I had a friend that actually told me when I was growing up, I was probably about 11 or 12, and he used to tell me stories that he woke up for like a few weeks straight. He went out to probably Saskatchewan, I'm not even sure, but it was in Canada. They went camping, but he said the whole time he was at this camp, he would wake up at night, and he said he was wide awake, and there'd be two tiny little fairy-like creatures that would kind of talk to him and run around his bed. That's what he told me all the time.
What were they saying?
I would think right
need
away.
more information.
I would think right away that'd be like some kind of drugs, but he was a kid. He's not doing anything, so I don't know.
Okay, but what were
Unless
they
he's
saying?
dreaming.
What's happening
He was
with
hopped
this?
up on Tim Horton donuts.
Tim
so
Hortons,
right?
eh?
Lots of sugar, man. I've seen little things, man.
Just one too many double
Give me another cruller.
But yeah, like that's my only story. Like actually, somebody that might have seen him, but yeah, it's.
As someone with no information or any sort of experience with Fae, I always...
That you know of.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always just like, Fae, that's like some whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the more I look into it, I'm like, I don't know. Like, listen, I've been told so much. Everything could be Fae. Aliens could be Fae.
They could be.
Ghosts could be Fae.
The cryptid
Everything could be
world.
Fae.
But that's the beauty of it, right? Is that there's so many options with the paranormal. There are so many different possibilities that you can't really shut one out. I remember having Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who is one of the preeminent paranormal authors. She like over 100 books on every element of the paranormal.
Yep.
And I was going to have her on about fairies. And I was kind of laughing about it before the show. And she goes, why are you laughing about this? And I said, because fairies. And she
Right?
goes, why do you draw the line there? Every night you'll talk about vampires and witches and werewolves and ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, and those are okay.
Right.
But when you start talking about the fairy realm, that's
where you draw the
ridiculous.
line.
Yeah, and I said, I had to double back a little bit, and I'm like, all right, fine, let's talk. So we started talking, and that's when the concept started to open up to me. You can't be so closed-minded because we don't know what this is. And when you start hearing of the way that the fairies have made themselves known throughout the years, they can shapeshift. They can be large animals or small animals, like cryptids that we've seen.
Right, like I don't know that much about Fae, but the more I look into it, I'm like, oh no, they're doing it.
They're very much doing it. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, especially going over to Europe. I went and did a trip in Ireland, and it was funny. We did this tour. We had like 30 of our listeners go with me on this tour of haunted Ireland, and the lady that was running our tour did not have a full grasp of what we were really looking for. And we're passing these old abandoned churches and asylums, and people are like, what's that old building? Oh, that's just an old abandoned church. And we're like, oh, it's known to be haunted, but we don't give it any thought, and we keep moving on.
Next.
And then she stops at the bronze statue of Charlie Chaplin for us.
Of course.
Oh, does the statue move? No, it's a statue, you idiot. Right? And then finally, we're kind of talking to her about the paranormal, and their grasp on it is not the same. But then 20 minutes later, we had to pull over to the side of the road before we could go into the next county. There is a big fairy bush. And we were all required to get off the bus and leave something at the fairy bush. So you could pluck a strand of hair. Yep. And wrap it around a branch. You could leave a coin.
Leave a tribute.
You have to leave a tribute. Nope. That's something that you're giving over to the Fae, asking for permission to go into their realm, into the next area.
How about just words?
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any hair to give, so
I know this.
I don't have to worry about it. I saw the woman shaking her head vehemently. To me, that's the wrong idea, because that's witchcraft and tooth fairies. Like the whole concept of that was if they got that's why when you get your first haircut, you keep the clippings.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, because you are most vulnerable. That's the most powerful element for the old witch spells, and your first tooth. So they would take it and grind it and burn the hair or burn the teeth so that the local witches couldn't get it and get a hold of you and then have you in their control.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
So next
and
time
I'm screwed because I lost both.
Right? Same.
It makes complete sense on why our lives are the way they are, Luther. All right, let's go over here. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Bobby. I'm not Canadian. From Tucson, Arizona.
Next.
Yeah. Okay, Bobby from Arizona. What's your story?
So mine comes from a deployment from Afghanistan.
Thank you for serving.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So a bunch of stories led up to what happened to me. I was hearing that this area, there was rocks getting thrown at our guys at the shack.
Oh, these are stories about being deployed?
Yes.
I'm leaning in right now. Please tell me more.
Okay. So one of my team leads says he felt like we went to go take a leak, and a rock was thrown at his back, and he looked around, no one was there. And I was like, oh, nah, that's not right. That's not true. BS. I get put on guard duty with that area and then shack and with my other team lead. And we're sitting on a bench where you don't even have any shoulder length. And he's like, all right, take a nap. Cool. I'm going to play my game. So he's playing his game on the phone. I'm asleep. And I felt like something shoved me hard on my back like that. And I woke up like, dude, why'd you wake me up? It's not even 30 minutes. It's like, I didn't shove you. What are you doing? I was just playing my game. All right, whatever. He gets a call saying he has to go back to the main shack, and they're going to send a replacement runner. All right, cool. I'm awake, standing around, and then I start hearing moaning, like someone's in pain. Like, I'm like, okay. I go outside the shack, I look around, and now there's wooden boards built around the shack, so I should be able to hear if someone's walking around.
Right.
Especially with all our equipment. I don't see anything, but I'm hearing it louder and louder. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get back in the shack for about a few more minutes pass, I'm hearing feet shuffling around the wooden boards. I'm like, okay, maybe it's Daggy. He's probably a replacement. And that's when this happened to me. Imagine this pillar right here.
Uh-huh.
This is the doorway.
Right.
All I see is something leaning like this.
No, nope. No.
Super slowly, all black figure, but definitely human form. I never screamed so hard in my life and
As is your
stumbled
right.
to get to my gun because I'm about to shoot whatever this is. Luckily, I didn't because I would probably get arrested that day. But I grabbed it. It's gone. I run outside the shack and do a whole 360 around it, and no one's there. I'm now in full panic mode, red alert. Why is this happening? And it's bright out because moon's full moon, everything. So I should see anything.
You're right.
10 minutes later. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Continue, please.
So 10 minutes later, my buddy finally shows up. I'm like, where have you been? It's been like almost an hour. Have you been messing with me? You've been screwing with me because I've been hearing noises and I saw something and nothing's there. No, I got lost in the way.
Yikes.
I was like, screw you. You're staying up all night.
Yup.
I'm going to try to sleep.
What?
How big was this person you saw?
I'd say about maybe 5'6", and it leaned like this. Just.
So like an average lady size. Listen, I feel like I've seen a billion of those exact videos on YouTube, and absolutely no thank you. No, what? No!
It makes you wonder what he was doing out there that you're hearing moaning as he's leaning in the door watching you sleep.
Hey, I don't know. All I know is I stayed awake that whole night.
Yeah, understandable. Hey, thank you very much for your service, and thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you for your service and your
You think that would be
trauma.
like a shadow man?
Yeah, let's. We have to take our final break. We'll come right back. We are live aboard the Jericho Cruise. All right, we're back. Thank you so much. This is the Jericho Cruise, and remember, folks, they are going to do another one. So keep watching darknessevents.com. We're going to be back next year. We've got more stories to share. We'll be talking with more of the people aboard the ship and having a good time. So I hope that you'll come on out and check it out with us as well. Joining us today, Luthor and Sweet Tea. Welcome back to the show, you two.
Hello.
See, it's nice when the audience has a lot of stories to share, right?
It's
It takes
awesome.
a lot of pressure off.
Yeah.
All right, we've got somebody else over by the microphone, I hope, unless this is a shadow person. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm just really fucking short, sorry.
Okay.
Jenny from Oakdale, Minnesota.
Oh, hey, Minnesota! Woo! Welcome.
So I've had quite a few paranormal experiences, but two that kind of stick out is one of them is when me and a childhood friend, we loved to run around our town, get into mischief, go to the park, woods, whatever. We found this big tunnel that we wanted to check out. So we're just like leaning in there.
Listen, I love a
You know how
tunnel.
you love to like yell, like you love to hear your voice echo.
Sure.
So we were like, hello, hello. And all of a sudden, this white figure appeared at the end of the tunnel. And it was probably about, we're kids, so it looked giant to us. But it's just kind of human form, just kind of looking at us. And I looked at her, I'm like, is she seeing the same thing as me? And we just booked it. We're like, screw this, let's get the hell out.
Was it a solid figure? Was it
Yeah,
misty?
it was solid white figure. It just kind of like slowly, just kind of like appeared, and then it was just kind of looking at us, and we were just like.
Now, do you remember any other senses being engaged? Could you smell anything? Could you hear any sound?
We just heard like the cars going by us, the street up above, but otherwise, no. It was just us just goofing around, just like hello. We wanted to echo, and this thing just appeared.
So again, you're calling out for it. Hello!
Yeah,
hello, and it shows up. Yeah, hi, and you're like, no!
Hey, I'm here. Hey, you
it
called
wasn't our
me. What's
intention.
up?
We just wanted to hear our voices echo like
Sure.
little goofballs.
Or were you asking for a friend? Because it sounds
Maybe.
like you're asking for a friend, and you got a friend, and now you're rejecting him, and that's rude.
Well, I mean, he could have been a little less creepy.
Well, he was white and all
That's
shimmery.
also
What
Sure,
more
he
do
could
you
have been all
want?
black.
Come on.
Wow, hey now.
Come on.
Sorry. But,
Raisin.
and then one other one that kind of sticks out that I actually, it's a good experience.
And I do want to mention, though, for a lot of people, I don't think if you see a shadow person, dark black figure outline, I don't think they're evil because they're dark. That may just be all that's left of that manifestation of the spirit.
They just wanted to say hi to us, and we
Right.
just didn't know. We
Yeah.
were just like, what the heck is this? And we're like, bye.
Yep. All right. So now your second story.
It was sometime, my dad passed away 20-some years ago, and shortly after he passed away, I was laying in bed, crying, missing him, and all of a sudden I just felt this reassuring hand on my shoulder. Like I thought it was my boyfriend. Like, oh, like no one was there, but it was like a nice grip. It wasn't just like actually
Sure.
a full hand, and I instantly felt calm, and I stopped crying, and I'm pretty sure it was my dad.
I like that a lot.
I'm pretty sure it was too.
I think he messed with my
Yeah.
boyfriend's guitars too, because I remember letting my dogs.
Your boyfriend sucks.
Oh yeah, no. That's why he's an ex.
See?
No,
I'm not wrong.
He used to have a couple guitars, and I let my dogs out, and it was 6 a.m, so he was sleeping. All of a sudden I hear, ding, one guitar string, and look, he likes to mess with me, and I'm looking around, where the hell's Tim? Nope, it's just me. And then I thought, maybe one of the strings broke. No, it's just one little ding. So that's it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Very cool. All kinds of different stories tonight, huh?
Yeah, it's fun.
Have you ever gone Bigfooting yet, Luther?
I have.
Yeah? And what's the
Tell
experience
us.
been like?
So the last time I went up into the Canadian Rockies with my brother and another Bigfoot.
Stop pandering to the Canadians in the audience, would you?
Let me hear the Canadians out there.
Settle down, Canucks.
So, anyways, so we go out there, and it's pretty cool. We're like deep in the woods, freezing. But I see
That does sound really
that was
cool,
really cool.
and not
But anyways,
terrible.
I see these trees, and they're broken. And like if you go down about 10 feet, 15 feet, another one's broken. But they're all broken in the same place. And this goes on about 6 trees in a row. And they always say that, or people have said that's sort of how they're marking, so they know that's where they travel.
Yes, he says that.
So the guy I was with, he's a tall lad. He's about 6'6", so he's got a pretty good wingspan.
Sure.
He couldn't even really reach, he could barely reach it. And I don't think it was snow because it was just every second or third tree. And usually if snow gets it, it's gonna bend or it's gonna break very weirdly.
Sure.
This was they're all just sort of snapped really easily. So we saw that, and then as we were going through, we found this almost like a tiny wall or snow blind sort of thing that had some trees all stacked up, and 2 of them, and there's 3 of us. 2 of them had big trees, I couldn't pick it up, or all 3 of us. So I don't know how this could have been made, and I don't really see it being like a hunter's thing. So it was almost like a little nest thing.
Yes,
so,
I was gonna say like a nest. Yeah.
So that was really weird. I'm not gonna say that was a Bigfoot thing, but I don't know what it was.
It was a Bigfoot thing.
Yeah.
100%. Shut up.
I mean, there was 3 of us that were all big guys, and we couldn't even pick up two of the trees that were there. So I don't know what made that or how in the middle of nowhere.
And you guys went specifically to look for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I need to know the mindset. What was the idea if you found him?
Yeah.
I was gonna. I had all my night vision. I had all my stuff. I was gonna just try to videotape him and not die.
No, that's it. Videotape him and not die.
Yeah.
Although that would, as they say, be the best way to go if you're going to go.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
It's not like
for sure.
Luther died choking on a ham sandwich.
Luther died wrestling.
Wrestling a
Yes.
Sasquatch, right? Yeah, that would be the way to go. No doubt about it. Very
I
cool.
like that a lot.
We've got 2 more quick stories. We'll start over on that side. Okay, go ahead.
I actually just have a question.
Okay.
So,
What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Karen from
No,
Nashville,
thank you. We don't
Tennessee.
like questions.
Thank you. All right.
Oh.
So my question is, if somebody who has passed comes to you in a dream, is that
Yes.
more normal, or is that more your own self-conscience trying to comfort you?
It's. I think it can be a mix of both, right? We deal with
Right.
grieving in different ways. Usually, when we have what's known as a visitation dream, visitation dreams are unlike any other dream, right? You probably had a dream last night, very foggy about what it was, that kind of detail. When my grandfather died, he was my rock. He was, he's my hero. He's a World War II paratrooper. He was a survivor of World War II. He was just an amazing human being, and everybody loved him. And when he died, I really just was not processing it well. And it was about, probably about almost 60 days into his death, and I was going into kind of a dark spiral and really having a rough time. And I was in a dream. I can't tell you what the dream was. I just remember being in a field of tall grass, walking or running through the field. And suddenly I heard my grandfather go, "Hey, kid." And I turned around and I was inside his house in Louisiana. And then I turned back around and the field's gone. And I remember consciously thinking, I was just in a field. What's going on here? And I was in his house and I looked out through the window and they had what used to be known as the servants' quarters back in the day on this manor house. And my grandfather comes walking out, and he looks younger and healthier. And he's walking towards me, and I remember consciously thinking, oh, he's taking his time so I can process that I'm about to talk to a dead person.
I love that you had that mentality.
That's
of
what was so strange
yes.
to me, is that you're kind of in this conscious zone. And he walked in, and he kind of was eyeing me up. He's like, hey, are you okay? I think he was waiting for me to freak out, and I'm like, yeah, I think so. What's going on? And we had this beautiful conversation back and forth about death and why are you so upset? Why are you in this place? And I realized that it was really my own deal. It was just my missing him. It wasn't, we had such a great relationship. There was never any words lost. There was never any feelings lost. So he didn't need to keep coming to me. He was just coming to pull me out of this vacuum I was falling into.
Yep.
And let me know that even though he'd never do this again, he'll always be near. And that was good enough for me.
He'll never
But
die again?
I can tell you, yeah, he couldn't come back and visit with me again. But I can tell you specifically the sense, the colors, the sensation. Because when I first went to say goodbye to my grandfather, we're a very huggy clan, right? And I went to wrap my arms around him, and I felt like I grabbed like a pillar of vibrating hot air. And I kind of backed off, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. You're not used to that. He goes, okay, now. And then I hugged him, and it felt like shirt and skin and normal. And it was just very, very strange to me. So I think I was catching him more in his angelic or ethereal form.
Absolutely.
And then he said, I love you, kid. I'll always be there for you. And then what was really neat, talking about shared experiences, in my instance, I had collected a bunch of his clothes after he had passed away, and I kept them in my closet, and they smelled like Grandpa, right? And as he faded into my dream, I woke up and sat up in my bed, and I could see his face fade into the darkness in my room. Now, I do know about the hypnagogic and hypnopompic states. Those are the minutes going in and out of sleep when reality and your dream world kind of come together for a brief moment. So I'm like, I'm probably just dreaming. And all of a sudden, my girlfriend goes, go close the closet door. I can smell your grandfather's cologne. And I looked over, and the closet door was shut. So to me, that was a wow.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier, especially in a heavy grieving process, for people to come to us in our dreams and make their presence known. And before anybody asks, no, I don't know why they choose some people over others. I wish I had a concrete answer for you. I think a lot of times, if you think about it, he came and visited my sister, but not me. A lot of times I'll ask, what kind of relationship did your sister have with that person? Very tempestuous. They didn't get along well. It was a lot of this, a lot of that. Okay, what was your relationship like? Mine was great. Well, then it may just be not that he doesn't love you, but you had a great relationship with him. He's coming back to say goodbye to you and let you know it's okay. All's forgiven.
There's no unresolved issues there.
Right. So it's all about just kind of making things go a little bit smoother. Does that make some sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. My when I was 14, my mom died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And about a month later, she came to me in a dream, and I always wondered about that.
And is it still a vivid memory dream?
So clear.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's like no other dream you've ever had.
Yeah.
Very cool. We are out of time. We've got an hour. We're already over by a few minutes. Any final parting words, Luther?
Everybody have a good time, and keep your eyes, your ears open, because you never know what's creeping around your house or elsewhere.
Or on the decks of the cruise.
Hello.
Sweet Tea, what's your last thoughts? And let everybody know where they can hear your show.
Oh, my final thoughts are whatever Luther just said. And also, hey, I've got another podcast called Monsters Lounge Podcast. Go check us out. We talk to people that are really interesting, unlike myself. Hello. Thank you.
And that's Sweet Tea. I'm Dave Schrader, the host of the Paranormal 60. Thank you guys for coming out and being a part of the program. Yeah, and I hope that you'll join us again in the future at more of these. And I'd like to thank Chris Jericho, our host. Let's thank them all for being here, and thank you, the audience.